I discovered I'm dating my biological father. Should I tell him?
What is this?
Let's find out if you actually should. I don't know.
Ah, man.
I still have no idea how to process this. Buckle up because it's a long one. I've never met my dad. He ran off when my mom found out she was pregnant with me. My brother was only 8 months old at the time, so he also has no memory of him. There are no pictures of him anywhere, and my mom hates talking about him. All I know is that he was emotionally abusive to her and a real asshole. I, 25 male, have a thing for older men.
Oh.
Call it daddy issues or a fetish or whatever you want, but I pretty much only date or sleep with men 40 and up. 40 and up? Damn, dude, that's old. That's
That is
old.
mature.
That's old.
mature.
My ex-girlfriend actually just married a 40-year-old up man, so no.
It happens.
It does happen. He has gray hair. Guess who doesn't? This guy. My family doesn't know this or that I'm gay for that matter. It wouldn't be an issue. They just never ask. We don't really share personal things like that. About 6 months ago, I met David, fake name, duh, at a club. We hit it off great. He's in great shape for his age, supposedly 43, although that's a lie. He's actually 47, as I found out. Really attractive, charming, etc. He left for a 2-week work trip a few days after we met, but we kept messaging each other and I really liked him, which is rare for me. We went on a date after he came back and have pretty much been dating ever since. He has a lot of money and I'm kind of his sugar baby, but that's not the reason I was attracted to him. Definitely a plus though. I didn't tell anyone we were dating except for my 2 best friends. He also never met any of my friends or family, and I never met his. This changed last night.
Oh, no.
We were at a restaurant when out of the corner of my eye, I spotted my mom. I don't live at home and we usually text if we need something, so I didn't know she'd be there. And to be honest, I still don't know why she was. She hates going out and thinks it's a waste of money. She had not seen us yet, but David noticed me looking at her. I'll forever remember the way his face changed when he saw her. His expression went from his casual, charming smile he always had to this blank, panicked look. I obviously noticed and got a really bad feeling. So I asked him, what's wrong? And he just got up and excused himself. I kept asking him where he was going and grabbed him so he couldn't leave. At this point, I was really confused and suspicious, but I would never have guessed what happened next. I don't think anything could have prepared me for it.
Don't say it, Sam. Don't say it.
At some point while he was getting up, my mother must have spotted us because next thing I know, she's next to our table asking me what was going on. I couldn't really pinpoint her facial expression because it looked like she was horrified. But again, at this point, I didn't know David was my father and she doesn't know that I'm gay. Oh, Oedipus who, bro? We got a new contender right now. Oh, God damn.
My body has been drained of its life force.
David is visibly uncomfortable and looks like he wants to die. He was literally sweating. I assumed this was because he didn't want my mother to know I was dating someone of his age. I was about to try to explain what was going on to my mom, and she said, "Why would you go behind my back like this?" I was so confused because, again, I didn't know he was my dad. So, like, what was she going on about? She probably assumed I had looked for and met up with my father without talking to her about it, despite her telling us how badly he treated her.
And he had to have known.
The dad?
I mean,
No way. There's social media. Do you not see pictures of people's kids? To me, however, it seemed like she was acting crazy for no reason. I kind of took it personally and thought she was trying to tell me who to date and what to do. So I casually told her that I was just on a date with my boyfriend and I tried to grab David's hand, but he just jumped up and ran away. He literally bolted like an effing Olympic runner. I cannot get the effing image out of my head of him jumping between waiters to get away. Everyone was staring at us by this point. It was so embarrassing and I was mortified. My mom looked like she was just frozen in place. God. I was more confused than ever. I had no idea what was happening. I had assumed she had asked me that because she didn't want me to be gay, which made no sense. She is very open and liberal. Or maybe she was like, oh, don't date older men, which made a bit more sense, but was still... Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But was still none of her business. But her expression just made my skin crawl. It's like I could feel the horror she must have been experiencing. She just told me to get up and come with her. I was still confused, but something in her body language told me to just do as I was told. I quickly paid for our drinks and appetizers. Thank God the main course hadn't been served because damn, that was expensive. My mom excused herself to her friends, and once we were in her car outside, we just sat there in silence for what felt like 10 minutes.
I can only imagine. Like, what do you possibly say?
I don't know. Nothing you can say can make this okay. I didn't really dare to say anything. I was still processing that my boyfriend just effing ran away from me and my mother. I had also tried to text him, but he wasn't responding. Shocker, I know. When my mom spoke, it sounded like she had been She sounded so wounded. I think it might haunt me forever. She asked me who that man was, and I explained to her, and I went on about how much I loved him because, again, I was still thinking of David as my boyfriend and assumed my mom's reaction was because of his age or gender. I cannot believe I went on about how much I romantically loved my dad right to my mother's face. It makes me puke. Long story short, she told me he was my father and that she instantly recognized him. That talk was the most traumatic experience of my life.
I can only freaking imagine.
Oh, we both started crying at some point and just wept for a while in the car. I was howling. It was fucking primal. I'm not usually emotional or prone to crying, so it was a real shock to me just how much pain a person can feel. Most of it is just a blur now, especially compared to how clearly I remember every other moment of the evening up to this. We drove home. I slept in my old bedroom. We haven't talked about it since, but my brother is also staying at our place still. He's a med student, never moved out of the house because of housing costs. And he knows something is up. He tried talking to me about it and I just broke down again. How do I ever tell anyone about this? The worst part is I think despite all of this, I still love David.
Oh.
He still loves his dad romantically, dude.
No.
Romantically. This is
dead.
so bad, dude. This is so bad.
Right, I'm about to go in the grave, okay?
He's putting gray hairs on his head.
Just take me now.
So bad. Just writing this makes me want to throw up. I cannot believe this is reality. Like, how effed up is all of this? Why did this happen to me? I don't even think I could tell my therapist about this. I tried messaging David, but I just don't know what to say. The last message I sent him literally just said, "Please call me. I love you." Sent right after he ran away. Like, what the what the actual like, how do I come back from this? How do I ever look at my mom in the eye again? I haven't left my room yet and I am in tears while writing this. I can't even remember the last time I cried before yesterday, and now I've been doing it nonstop. If anyone has any advice, as if who else would have advice after accidentally doing this besides stupid me, it would be highly appreciated. Also, feel free to make dark jokes about this. It's my coping mechanism. I also did not proofread this as I do not believe I can make myself read this again. And there is a thick, juicy, big daddy update coming our way. What do you think, John?
I think I'm dead. I think that I have ascended. I have dissolved into molecules that are floating through the air, not knowing its direction or purpose in life.
It's so bad. That's so bad. John, do you want me to go into the update?
Just go. Just go.
Just do it. Posting this for the first time was a nightmare. So this is take 2. Firstly, I really appreciate everyone's comments, although I'm not in a mindset right now where I can take them seriously. Just feels kind of weird when people tell me everything's going to be all right when my entire life is in shambles. I do think I'm doing way better than I should. I think I'm just disassociating though. However, what I do not appreciate is the countless people DMing me, asking me questions about my sex life. So I will address this once and for all so you can stop, you effing animals. You know who you are. Yes, we had sex. No, I was not the bottom. I do not subscribe to such outdated and heteronormative ideals of what gay sex is supposed to be like. I am a switch and only date other switches. Yes, the sex was good. I don't date people who are bad in bed. I guess good sex runs in the family. No, I will not continue to have sex with my father, send you nudes, or give you sex stories of all this. Like, what the is wrong with y'all? Anyways, there you go. Have the tier you clearly desire so you can effing leave me alone. For all you other lovely people, I think I need to talk about my mother first. A lot of people have a lot to say about her, and I think I need to set some things straight. She is not a bad person and did everything she could to raise us to the best of her ability. She's also a Black single mom living in a country where she is a minority and which puts a lot of roadblocks in her way, but she always made sure to give my brother and I the best childhood she could. When I think of her, I only have fond, loving memories. Some people assume because of some of my previous statements that we are not a close family, which is definitely not the case. We just really value independence and freedom. I live about an hour away from my mom, but still visit her monthly. We call at least once a week, but we don't force each other to confess things or information the person doesn't willingly give up. My brother, for example, has always been very open about his dating life with my mom. She's met all of his girlfriends and they often came to family gatherings. I'm just more private. That being said, she has not always been perfect because no parent is. A lot of people were upset at her for not telling us about our dad, and trust me when I say that she is aware that she made a mistake. Not even showing a picture of him, come on. But she also moved to another continent just to keep us away from him and make sure we never run into him. There is no way that she could have known that he would move to the same country as us years later. I'm not going to name specifics because I don't want anyone to recognize this as me, since a lot of this is already quite specific, but she really did her best to make sure we never have to go near him, and none of this is her fault. I don't blame her in the slightest. If anything, I blame myself for being so angry at her whenever she tried to tell me or my brother about him. I was never interested in finding out about my father. In truth, I resented him deeply for leaving my mother alone to fend for herself in a world that wanted her to fail. Since this has come to light, a lot of things I didn't know about my family have also been brought up. I found out that my brother and my mother often talked about my father, just not in front of me since I was so adamant to never learn anything about him. I remember throwing a tantrum because my brother kept asking when my dad's birthday was. My brother knew his full name, had seen pictures of him, and knew most of the full story of what had gone down between my mom and him. It is not my story to share as it is fully hers, and so I will not go into details, but know that he was not just emotionally abusive like I had believed my entire life, but also physically and financially. The story of him leaving when she found out she was pregnant isn't fully accurate either. He apparently threatened to harm her if she didn't get an abortion, and so she packed her things and left him. According to her, he never reached out or tried to find her, and she moved to make sure it would stay that way. She really just tried to protect us, and I'll never be able to truly articulate how grateful I am. Obviously, finding out about all this just makes me feel worse. I always shut them out when they tried to tell me about my father and refused to learn anything about him because I naively presumed that I was better than him and therefore didn't need to bother learning anything about a man I wasn't good enough for. Obviously, that backfired, and here we are. The fact that they came from a different country and they both went to the same place. Well, I guess I imagine
city.
The same
city. Like location.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Make it make sense.
Thankfully, my mother does not blame me whatsoever. She is extremely understanding of my side, and we've convinced her to find a therapist, and she also joined a group counseling for victims of domestic violence. My brother, on the other hand, is absolutely livid. There are acceptable responses to this, and no, OP is not necessarily in the wrong, but what do you do when your brother your dad?
You be not happy about it. My God. Yeah. Well, the question is the brother angry at OP or the father?
It's probably directed at OP, but he's probably mad just about the situation, you know?
Yeah, maybe his emotions are just, they don't know what direction to go in because he's so confused. They need to go somewhere. I felt we had to tell him eventually, and after consulting with my therapist, we decided to rip it off like a Band-Aid, set him down, and I basically first told him I was gay. He did not care, as expected. Then I told him that I was into older men. He was very confused where this was going, and also I was telling him I don't think he was ready for it or took it well. And then that I met Dad and that bomb kind of hit and took all his attention at first because he's always wanted to meet him and really struggle with not having a father, unlike me. I thought when he said oh, and that bomb kind of hit, I met Dad and damn, that bomb kind of hit, you know? But no, his excitement quickly faded though when he connected the dots of me being into older men, meeting Dad, and my mom and me being weird and the worrying behavior we've had for the past few days. It effed him up pretty bad. I really regret telling him at all. I don't know if that's something that he needs to know, you know? Well, one point in that favor is, does it hurt him to not know? Probably not. As long as the father doesn't come back in the picture, probably not.
Yeah, it does not hurt him to not know. It just hurts.
Yeah.
He can't come to terms with it and is visibly disgusted by the thought, as he always viewed our father as our father and not my daddy. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. I said that.
Oh, I'm dying over here.
While I viewed him as some afterthought sperm donor that ran off, he hasn't really talked to me since we told him. And when he does, it's disgusting remarks, insults, or passive aggression. My mother is furious with him and it's not helping. She's always hated when we'd fight, but now especially she feels like he's treating me unfairly since I'm already going through so much. But I think he's fully within his right to be angry or disgusted. He's just being such a about it. It's also really uncharacteristic of him to act like this. But again, it's not every day that your brother does this with your dad.
It doesn't happen every day.
He even went as far to call my aunt, my mom's sister, and tell her what happened. Now it's spreading.
I was afraid you'd be like, he called my aunt and said, let's hit
it off. An eye for an eye. Thankfully, we can trust her to keep it a secret. Her husband and her are basically a second set of parents to us, but I still think it's really effed up of him to do that. He also refuses to see a therapist and keeps saying that I'm the mentally messed up one, not him. Whenever we try to bring it up, it's only been like less than 48 hours since we told him though, so I'm sure he'll come around. Yeah, it's 48 hours. He's still reeling.
Give him some time.
He also still really wants to go meet dad, which everyone keeps telling him is a terrible idea because he is really the worst. Stay tuned because it gets worse. Goddamn.
No!
But he's so stubborn and keeps yelling at me to give him dad's address. He's so obsessed with this idea of a man that doesn't exist and wants to do with him. Even before I found out he was my father, he never wanted to meet my family. Does dad know? Did dad know that this was his kid?
I feel like he did because he ran away as soon as he saw the mom. I feel like he did know.
Granted, even before I found out he was my father, he never wanted to meet my family. Granted, I also didn't want him to meet them, but the one time we talked about it, he laughed at the idea as if it was preposterous. Now, he's the only person I blame in all of this besides myself. He really is a little cowardly piece of trash, and I wish I never effing met him. I think this entire thing and his behavior after being recognized just really broke something in me that I didn't know was there. I never cared about him before, but now I genuinely know that he will never give a single crap about me, and that really hurt. Basically, I kept texting and calling him the evening of what we've referred to as the event because I was desperate and confused and couldn't really believe what was happening. I then texted him 2 more times the day of and called once. No response either. Then, 2 nights ago, I decided to call him again, even though everyone in my life was against it. This was also just after we told my brother and we had a huge fight about it. This is all happening so fast too. Like it's like crazy that it's just really like one event after another.
Chain reaction nuclear explosions.
I was really vulnerable and I don't know what the hell was fired in my head, but some part of me must have believed that he'd comfort me. He had been extremely emotionally available during our relationship, which very much contrasted with what my mother had told me about him and their relationship. I didn't think he'd pick up the phone, but he did. Bro, why are you calling? Why are you calling him?
Also, I will give one amendment to my theory. I do still think that the dad did know, but one argument though is that if he saw the mom, he probably hasn't seen her in years, and he was like, "Oh,
I probably didn't want to see her anyway."
I think it is still possible, and he's just like, "Oh, I don't want my boyfriend to know the person that I was or am."
Exactly.
You know?
Well, let's see what actually happened. He picked up and it was effing terrible. He immediately started yelling as soon as he picked up. He had never yelled at me before. Started calling me all kinds of slurs like the F slur and a put, which is just absurd. Started threatening me that he'd off me and my B mother if I ever contacted him again. And said if I told anyone about this, that I'd regret ever meeting him. Joke's on you. I already do. It was an effing turn of character. I was genuinely not prepared for it and had no idea what I was supposed to do. Maybe he didn't know either, dude.
Maybe.
I just cried on the other end of the phone while he kept yelling at me till he finally hung up. The entire thing was utterly terrible. And I can't believe I didn't trust my mother and listen to her sooner when she clearly tried to tell me how horrible he was on multiple occasions throughout my childhood. I just feel so stupid. I'll probably never contact him again, but I cannot believe I undid all the efforts my mother put in to keep us safe all those years and let him play the both of us in the exact same way just because I wanted some dick.
God.
There's a bit more. There's a bit more. I took some people's advice and sent the post to my therapist with a short email explaining some more private stuff. I sent it around 5 a.m., the day after the event, and then went to sleep for almost 15 hours and woke up to tons of missed texts and calls from her, starting with extreme concern and then slight annoyance because I think she thought it was a sick prank since I didn't respond. We talked on the phone later and she told me that I can call her whenever I want. She is not an in-person therapist, which I prefer. I do feel security in knowing that I can confide in her, and I'm glad I told her. I also joined some online support groups.
Don't tell me there's enough people that have gone through this.
Probably not in this specific circumstance where it was like a entirely consensual relationship, but I imagine there is some people who have gone through some stuff like this. Most of them either shamed me because of the age gap or my sexuality, so that didn't really do much good. You think you could go join a support group, but no.
You get anti-support. What the hell?
Anti-support. I've also told my 2 best friends against what some people advised. I trust them with everything and they wouldn't be my friends if that wasn't the case. I will be using fake names for this, but basically Leia, my oldest friend we met in kindergarten, called me on FaceTime, not unusual. The night of this happening, I had told her I was sick and she'd leave me alone, but she called me to ask how I was doing the next day. I had just kind of another mental breakdown and was sobbing when I picked up the phone, and she was obviously concerned and I just kind of blurted it out. Of course, she thought I was joking at first and asked me if I was on or some shit. I don't even do because I pretty much never cry. I then just kind of told her everything and it was really freeing. She was the first person I told. I then sent our other friend the TikTok of this and just let her react to it. Then told her I wrote that and let Leia handle it. I'm really grateful for them. They have been insanely supportive. I'm still staying at home. They're helping me to feed my cat and look after my plants for as long as I need. No judgment at any point. Those are some freaking great friends.
Really?
Just them asking me how they can help. Get yourself friends like this. So all in all, my dad is trash to one surprise. I might have mentally broken my brother. Therapy works. And my mother and friends are the best people on this planet. I'll keep answering questions for the next few days. And I think after that, I'll log out of this Reddit account for good, documenting and sharing this with people who have really helped me. And I appreciate all the comments, even if I cannot do much with them to help my recovery at the moment. Also, the jokes are top tier. Keep them coming. Everyone's tiptoeing on eggshells around me, so it's nice to see the comments just go feral. I just want to feel normal again.
Well, I got one more then. The comments weren't the only things that were coming.
Oh, your dad. And he wasn't coming back from getting milk.
Oh, no.
That was brutal, dude. That was absolutely brutal. One of the most brutal ones we've ever read.
I think this is the most defeated I've ever been. I think I am at my most defeated.
So what do we think? Do we think the dad knew or didn't know?
I'm curious to see what the comments say. But I originally thought he did because of the way he reacted. But now think about when he sent the text and said, I love you initially. Then later on the phone was like cursing him out and saying the most disgusting, vile stuff. That kind of leads me to believe that he actually didn't know.
Yeah.
But also the chances, like I could see with him.
But maybe
being
he just knew that OP knew. The father thought that OP didn't know for the whole time. And then he found out OP did know and then just like cursed him out because he knew the truth.
Yeah.
I'm going to live in a world where he doesn't know because the other world is worse.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here for that.
But question, would you tell your brother if you did that with your dad? Let me know in the comments. I wouldn't. I would
Tell us
not
in the
at all.
comments.
Tell
Because
us
I
in the
wouldn't.
comments, please. But let's get to a better story, please.
Please, anything.
Please, for the love of God. John, hit us with it.
My wife put a weapon to my family jewels thinking I cheated on her.
You don't want to crack those nuts.
No, you really don't. And again, we don't get a break on these stories today, but gosh dang it.
No,
we
we
will
don't.
read them.
But what we love is that it comes from our community. This is an r/OKOP show post. So if you have any crazy stories, please submit them to our subreddit, r/OKOP show, or you can literally call us right now with the story at 440-508-6567. And we might just call you back and have you on the show.
And this one comes from Ellie0426. Thanks for the story, Ellie. Some backstory. I dated this girl for like 4 months and everything was going great for the most part. Then school started back and I got put in a class with a bunch of freshmen and one of them got obsessed with me.
OP, classic OKOP community member, everyone being obsessed with them because they're so cool.
She asked me out several times and I told her no because I was a senior and because of my girlfriend at the time.
Those are two good reasons.
2 very good reasons. She got mad at me, so her and her friends made a fake Snapchat that looked just like mine and messaged each other a lot, posing as me, asking for nudies and to go on dates and everything, and then sent screenshots of it to my girlfriend.
That is some dastardly freaking revenge or like just
Not even
sabotage, blackmail.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
God dang. I never knew any of this went down, and I went to visit my girlfriend from food from our local Mexican restaurant around a week after this had happened. When I showed up, she stormed out of her front door and through my car.
She's pissed. Well, there's so much like evidence against OP. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty tough. Like, she literally had screenshots of all that.
Of course you have a fake Snapchat. Yeah, sure.
It ruined my seat and then smacked the other out of my hand. She grabbed me by the front of my hair and dragged me through her house back to her room, where she then grabbed a knife, held it to my sack, and told me that if she found out I was actually cheating, she was gonna cut my gonads off.
Well, that's a red flag.
Yeah. You shouldn't cheat, but that is not
that's
acceptable.
Crazy.
Thankfully, I got the whole situation to cool off, and I still have my family jewels. After that, we broke up for a couple of months, and during that time, she hooked up with at least 7 different guys, but decided that we needed to get back together.
Don't. Do not do that. She wants your jewels.
And being the dumb high school kid I was, I did exactly that.
Why can't we learn from our mistakes?
Why? It went smoothly for a little while until Thanksgiving, when I caught her sending nudies to another guy from my bathroom during Thanksgiving dinner.
No, that's like, I think the worst time to send one. Worst time.
Only thing that tops that, funeral. The
Funeral.
only place.
Yeah.
Over the coffin.
In front of
like,
the casket.
Me and Grandpa.
I thought this was an open casket.
After that, I started trying to just be friends again because I thought it would be reasonable. But we were on the way to take pictures for my senior prom, and she saw that one of my friends had texted me and asked if I was okay since I was with the crazy girl that wanted to cut my family jewels off. My ex saw this and started screaming at me in the car, but we still went and took the pictures and headed to prom.
Why, bro?
Once we got there, she told me that we were done and tried to get several of my friends to take her home. Thankfully, none of them did, and her family wouldn't come get her either, so I got stuck driving her back.
That's dangerous. Hopefully you patted her down to make sure she didn't have a knife.
Oh, God, right? So, security, please.
Yeah, please.
Bring out the wand. After that, we didn't really talk much, other than when she would hit me up after her new boyfriends would leave her. My God.
Dude, man's on the back burner.
This ended around a year ago, but she hit me up again recently, and we had fun together.
OP, do not continue being with this crazy girl. She will destroy you.
And now she wants to get back together.
What do you think OP should do? Put your answers in the comments below. But I think he should run far, far away, OP. Run far, far away. Oh, man. Well, I appreciate you submitting your story. If you have a story yourself, please go to our subreddit if you want to type it out, r/OKOP show, or you can call us right now, 440-508-6567.
Send them in. See you next time.
See you soon.